Hey fam, welcome to another episode of Good, Bad, and Ugly with Jose. I have a great guest for you today, my friend Will.
What's up, Jose?
Woo!
Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So me and Will are members of the Owners Club. That's where we met. So we've been friends for close to a year now. I say friends, we're also partners. So without further ado, Will, can you share with everybody, your journey, how you decided to to get involved in real estate, and just tell us about yourself.
Sounds good. Well, first of all, thank you for having me here.
Absolutely.
It's always an honor when you get invited to like somebody else's like show or podcast. So I appreciate you having me and considering me into this. A little bit about me. So I live in Miami, Florida. I started my entrepreneurial, like I guess, journey back in college. Now I own an ads agency that I've been doing that for about 10 years. And I kind of wanted to, understand a little bit more of real estate, a little bit of a background story there as to why. But decided to, journey into real estate, understand a little bit more. And that drove me to making decisions of, going to Squad Up, joining Owners Club. And now that I'm here, it's a surreal feeling to it.
All right. So what drew you to like real estate? I mean, you said you have your agency, and because of that, you were trying to get to understand or get a better understanding of real estate. But like, what was it in your current business that made you even want to pursue that knowledge? How is that going to help you with what you were trying to do?
Yeah, good question. So the reason why comes from a personal standpoint. So my parents, they went through a pre-foreclosure. It drew a lot of questions, I guess you could say, in terms of like not understanding the industry. To give you, kind of like give you that background. So back in right before COVID, my dad lost his job, and he was he was trying to find other means to generate an income. But during COVID, obviously, it was hard to do that. So lost his job, couldn't make enough, couldn't make ends meet in terms of like being able to pay the mortgage of the house.
Sure.
I had already moved away. Same thing with my sister. We were both like moved out during that time, and we didn't necessarily know that was the case, right? He was trying to get a little jobs here and there. He found a couple places where he could work, but it wasn't enough.
Sure.
So little by little, it's kind of like COVID finished, right? And things were opening up. He continued to search for that job. Long story short, we come to find out that like, no, actually they weren't able to make the payments. They had to use credit cards. They had to, my dad and my mom sat us down, my sister and I, and be like, hey, this is the situation. It was kind of like a last like a Hail Mary, essentially. It's like, hey, we can't do this. Like, we need you guys' help. So through that, we were able to like actually get the money that we needed. We put some money together, myself, my sister, some credit cards, friends, some family. We try to like find a way to like keep the house. But the only way that I knew how to do that, it was just like throw money at it, right? Like, okay, we got to pay this stuff. Let's figure out how do we pay it. Paid it, put it into the market. Thankfully, sold within a certain period of time, reasonable period of time, and at a good margin, right? There was some equity in the house. But that wasn't necessarily like the hardest part, because like we knew that we had to pay, at least that was the basics. It was the dynamics of it, how it worked. And then also after we paid that, it's like, okay, how do you go about it afterwards if you're in that situation where you don't have anywhere else to go? Because that wasn't the priority. There was no money, so they couldn't be like, oh, we have a down payment in the house. And things are here in Florida, I mean, crazy to go into a new house with what the market was.
Right.
So thankfully they found a place up in South Carolina. Have a lot of family living there. Most of my mom's siblings live there.
Okay.
All of my mom's siblings live there pretty much. They were able to buy a house over there, and now they moved up, and they're good. They're good. My dad found a job up there. My mom started her own business now, so she's doing side jobs and working on her business. so that dawned on me. It's like, hey, what do you do? Like, what's the situation, right? So I started searching, found Pace on YouTube, and that's when I started like diving a little bit more into it and understanding what real estate kind of like was composed of, what it was all about, like the different ways to like go into a real estate deal. And I really liked it. I enjoyed it. I mean, Pace makes it really easy, right, to really like
Right.
into the industry. So after a few, I got targeted as an advertiser, right? I do
Sure.
advertising for stores. I got targeted with one of the ads. I'm like, oh, this looks interesting. So I'm like, let me look at what Pace funnel looks like, right? And then I go through
Sure.
it. All of a sudden, I was buying Gator Method. I'm like, sold completely. But to me, it was more of like okay, this is what kind of like one stepping stone. I've never paid for like a course or anything like that. I
Right.
love content, so jumped into that. And then later on, as networking and kind of like finding my way out of like what I'm used to in terms of like the
Sure.
ads agency, things were flowing there, and have a partner in that business. So it was a bit of like, okay, I want to try and discover something also for my own, like by myself. So that intrigue became attending Squad Up, and through networking and things like that, like a lot of people that I knew from like Gator or like communicating in the chat or whatever on the Zoom calls, when they presented Owners Club, that's kind of like what's like, oh, interesting. So it's kind of like buying your way up, because like you want to shrink the time of learning, and
Sure.
that's actually what I did. I figured I had the money to be able to do that. Thankfully, to I was privileged to have the opportunity to just jump on that.
Right.
And also having a very supportive wife helped me a lot, because it's not easy to just like into
Right.
something like this. But I was betting on the jockey, right? Like I like Pace. I saw what he was doing. I like the community that it was involved, so jumped right in. So what got me into real estate wasn't anything that my old business didn't have. In fact, that
Sure.
business is thriving, is doing really well. But I wanted to kind of like, from a personal standpoint, like understand this other industry, and that's what got me into it.
Gotcha. So just for the audience, this episode will be after the 2025 squad up, but no matter when you're watching this, if you got an opportunity to go, it's a must go event. It's
Must
annual.
go.
Hopefully in the future it'll still be an annual event, but
Yep.
it's about 3,000 plus investors or individuals.
3,500 to be exact. Yeah.
Say again?
3,500 people.
Oh, 35. Okay. Dang,
Yep.
it's even more than I thought.
Yeah, yeah, it's big.
Bunch of people getting together, usually most like-minded folks, and it is probably the networking event of the year. Pace and Jamil bring in some great speakers for us to learn from, to get some nuggets from, and then of course, like I said, the attendees are all like high quality
Very.
investors, whether they're brand new or not. I mean, you can learn from everybody, and um, you never know who your next partner or where you'll find your next partner. So, that being said, just out of curiosity, pre-foreclosures is one of the demographics that a lot of newer investors target when they're
Mhm.
trying to. Did you? I know you came in kind of toward the end of that, but were you guys getting? I say you guys, your family, inundated with investors
Like
trying to
creative.
buy your home or try to save you guys? And then the kind of a follow up question is, because of that pre foreclosure, did you learn that process to see how you could help others?
Great question. So I came in really late into that process. So I would say the person who was getting those calls was my dad. And once I joined Sub 2 and Owners Club, and was telling him about like what it was all about, he started opening up to me about like that process, because I also wanted to understand it from the beginning. During the time, it was like a little tough to like talk about the process, because there was a lot
Absolutely.
more emotions involved. Um, but he did mention, yeah, that people were either offering him cash or buy him out of the mortgage,
Right.
by taking over the payments and things like that. But he needed the money from the sale, right, from the traditional sale.
Right.
So I learned a little bit, because a lot of the legal stuff he was handling still. I was more kind of like putting together the money. right? That was kind of like my task, my job then. And then managing that to understand like, okay, how do we not get here again? Pretty much handling a lot of also my own feelings. I mean, I didn't understand it. So you could imagine, what did my parents do to get here? Right. I was trying to really understand that because I didn't first, obviously it's like what got them there to really understand it. Two is like, I don't want to be here in the situation either. But there's different reasons why people get into a pre-foreclosure or get there. So trying to practice also the empathy of or the same. Yeah, I think the word is empathy, to like understand where people stand, and then okay, let me just be useful. I don't want to criticize. Is what I thought.
Sure.
So as far as that goes, once he finally opened up a little bit about it, because I started asking him about like what was his process like, because like I don't know, I didn't know if it was same as what I hear it is, right? And yeah, some investors try to help in that regard by catching him up and not letting his credit go out. But I think the way that he saw it was he already had credit cards, he already had a bunch of different things, so he tried to do it on his own without like using the help of anybody else. And that's why I think that was also alien to him to understand like what was happening in terms of like what they were offering, right? So yeah, just to answer the question in short, yes, but I wasn't part of that part.
Gotcha. So now that you're kind of involved in real estate, what is your niche? Like, for example, mine, I focus on right now. I'm focusing on helping people get into deals, right? So I'm doing transactional funding, and then I take the money earned from that, and then I invest and buy and hold co-living properties. What is your niche? What are you trying to? How are you trying to invest in real estate? I guess is the best way of putting it.
Good question. So there's two things that I have currently in mind as far as like the niches, right, that I have. One is I own an AI agency. I started my AI agency or AI automation, kind of like more consulting type of agency. So I wanna focus in real estate, right? That's my niche in terms of like where I'm working on with this agency. But in real estate, the way that we kind of develop our Mount Everest, right? My goal for the next 5 years is to help 1,000 people that are going through pre-foreclosure or going through some sort of like it's the same case scenario that happened with my parents, right? So it's really personal. So like I want to help in that regard. But in order to help do that, like I'm not one to be always on the phones, right? I'm not one to be like that's not where my energy comes from, right? Where it comes from is more like creating the systems, and that's what I know to do. Now, the way that I'm trying to accomplish that is, okay, if maybe I can also completely like go past that like goal of 1,000 people, could be even more. The point is that like through my knowledge and systems and processes and automation, and now with AI coming into play, right, it's understanding how to use that to enhance other people's businesses that can help those going through that situation. And through that, like that's kind of like more of the as well as the active income side of things. So that's my angle, or let's call it my lane. That's the lane that I found that I was like that I could like not only help myself make an income, but also help others that are directly actually doing things that are helping those people that are going through that. But that's my intention, right? So, and as far as like a KPI goes, like right now is getting myself established within the industry or within this group, right, of people that I'm working with, so that way I can then go out and like repeat myself or copy myself in that regard. And a lot of the investors that I work with also work in the co-living space. So it's kind of like a double tandem, right? We're helping with affordable housing, and while I help build, some of these investors that I work with, and then the outcome that I want is, or I guess a secondary outcome that I want out of that is being able to help more people that are going through that situation.
Awesome. And just for the audience, KPI is key performance indicators. Never know if everyone knows the acronyms or not. But as an investor, right, and wanting to take advantage of the services that you are providing to other investors. So here's a scenario, and you tell me how you would be able to help me reach my goal, right? So I'm looking, as I told you, co-living properties, but I want to focus on, as you, pre-foreclosures, because now I'm helping more than just one people in that transaction, right? I'm helping people that are potentially losing their homes, and if I can save them. But if not, I can find a way to buy it and then provide housing to somebody else at an affordable rate. So how could I utilize your services to help me identify those people so that I can get engaged and try to prevent their foreclosure, potentially help them keep their home or purchase their home, and then bring other people in? How can I do that utilizing your agency, your AI?
Definitely. So, for example, if you were to go and execute on your business, what are some of the things that you do in order to execute your business?
Well, I mean, you of course have to do lead generation, whether that be mailers or pulling list or paying for list, right? Jumping on a phone call to talk with a seller to find out what their concerns or, as we're taught, pain points, right? Find their bunnies, and then trying to find, depending where they are in the process, right? In my experience, I've had to call lawyers to try to stop foreclosures. I've had to call the city to find out if they're still on docket. When's their cutoff for making a payment? Can I make a payment at the beginning of the day and get the full payment by close of business? Then trying to find, in the last case that I did, there was no way to keep the current owner in that house and me still make money. And so I was trying to get her into a place where she could afford, right? So trying to find her another place. So I tried to do everything, right? I don't want to just think, keep them in the house. I got to find them a place to go, because in my mind, I can't put my head in the pillow. So those are kind of things that I do in that situation.
Correct.
So
to kind of like piggyback on that is, so you see how you have a lot of different moving pieces, right? The first one initiates with the lead generation. So you might be doing different techniques. There is the advertising, there is the cold calling, there is the, like you said, like mailers, right? So all of those are kind of like creating traffic into your system. So where I come into place is, okay, let's look at all the channels that you are currently using. You're using marketing channels, right, to bring in, and let's try and automate that as much as possible, so you're not the one filtering, let's say, through all the emails that come in. We use AI to analyze some of those emails and then put them into the CRM if they're emailing you. We use things like text messaging, right? If you send out mailers and you put it on your mailer, hey, text this number to help, right? We can create AI chatbots or agents that help you with the initial interaction to book an appointment, right? Or we just simply add a link where they can just go and book the appointment, right? So those small instances of like touch points with people or touch points with you and your business, those are things that can be automated or create a system around it, so that way it helps you gain some of that time back in order for you to be able to like be more. You think about it like this is how I normally say it: let the machine do the machine work while you do the human work. So what does that mean? Let the machine book the appointments for you, right? And sure, you want to be connected with them, but these are things that they're already used to. Majority of people book appointments with the doctor by submitting a form, right? So people are used to doing these things already. They like that because it's less interaction with people. Those things should happen, a lot faster. If I can find, when you book a reservation, so you calling now, you just go to Open Table and like find the reservation, right? Things like that for like a restaurant. So things like that people are already pre-accustomed. So like you don't need to be necessarily talking to them. If they want to help themselves, okay, by going to you and seeing an option, then they're going to do what it takes. So we optimize that. Like what I do in my agency is we see where we can add automation to save you time from doing a lot of the manual work. And then with that is, okay, now instead of doing just, let's say, 5 appointments a week, now we free you up to do 12, 15, 20 appointments a week, because a lot of that system is systematized, is more automated for you to be able to do what you do best, which is talking to the people on the phone and growing relationships. That could be from the front end, that could be in the middle when you're talking to lawyers, for example, you're reaching out to lawyers, collecting lawyers by scraping the web, for example. Those are kind of like the tooling that I do for the real estate investors that are in this category.
Oh, awesome. So the name of the channel is Good, Bad, and Ugly. And in your experience, I was wondering if you could share a good story and maybe a bad story that you learned a good lesson from, so that the people watching the episode can learn from them too.
Okay, so it's a little general. Let me see what I can do in terms of. Okay, so good story is going into this, I always felt like, funny enough, I always felt like I was sometimes the smartest person in the room, and this is
Sure.
in a way you can say that this is very I'm speaking from a confidence standpoint, right? Not so much like braggy. So I always felt like I was the smartest person in the room for some time. And what I learned is that, like, okay, if I'm the smartest, who am I learning from, right? What are my most proximate people that I'm learning from? And I looked around in my circle, and I didn't necessarily was learning from people in my circle. I still love them, everybody that's involved in my life, but I wasn't learning from. So I'm like, what is where can I go to feel that way again, where I'm learning? Because you can learn online, but like not if you're interacting, right? Interaction and talking to people directly serve more. So I guess a good story of that is, I started doubting myself and losing a lot of my confidence, okay, because I wasn't hanging out with people that had something that I didn't have. And when I realized that, one of the things that I started to do was going out of my comfort zone to go and like seek that out. And I think a lot of people get caught up in this like hamster wheel that they're not, like they keep telling themselves no, I can't do it. And like the subconscious are like taking over that whenever you're presented with that situation, whether you can or not. So when I go into these rooms, there's a lot of self-doubt that comes in now, because I'm not the smartest person in the room. So like that ego, as little or as much as you have to learn how to now like redirect it, right? So it felt really good to me to now go into rooms where I have to, it's funny, Pace says it's like, this is a good something you have to leave the person that you were before to be the new you, right? And the word that he used is I can't say, I don't know what YouTube or whatever it's gonna do, but
it's for 18-year-olds. You're good.
Okay, you have to X out the old you. Let's just keep it PG, right? You have to X out the old you to become the new you. So I feel like I have done that this past year. I feel like I have put myself in a situation where I am able to say that, like, I have constantly upgraded who I am, not only mentally but also like in the relationships that I have been able to create. So that's a good story, I think, in my opinion. I think that's something that like a lot of people don't take for granted. It's like continue to push you even in those moments, or learning from the how to handle your egos. A bad story, I guess. And it's funny because like I don't look at it as a bad story, but more like a learning lesson.
All of them are learning lessons.
Right. So a learning lesson was during the past 10 years of my agency and my business, I never seek out for help. I never really went out, and I was always like I was always the type of person that would like be really good at working on my own. And that's the reason why it took a toll on my I guess you could say my mind, my psyche, because I was it felt lonely at times, even though I had a partner, fantastic relationship. At times it felt lonely, where like I didn't have that like that person that would like teach me things, right? Or like look up to. I didn't have that person in my life. So I went into a really like into a spot that like I never thought I would. Nothing. I wouldn't call it yet rock bottom because I don't think I have experienced that
Right.
yet. But like it kind of like gave me this feeling of like I need to change something. I was horrible physically, like in shape. I was eating horrible. I was not taking care of me. Like like people say, like your body's your temple, so you got to take care of it. I
Right.
wasn't taking care of myself, and that put me in a spot where like during COVID that like okay, like this is it kind of like shifted my mind. I learned from it, and it's funny because it took a couple things to happen. It's silly stuff that happened. Like one day I walked into my parents' house and my dad was like, "Wow, son, you're looking hefty." And I'm like,
Oh,
"Oh
nice.
crap, okay." you know so in my mind it's like
That's
I
love.
didn't take it with I took it with a grain of salt in terms of like it was never intended to be in a mean way, but it was more like poking a little bit of fun, and I was okay with that because I felt like I did need at that point in time that I needed to make a shift. So I guess that's the lesson there for me. It was just like, okay, I need to start talking to more people that have what I want, um, or that have what I need, pretty much. And that's what again continued to drive me into this entrepreneurial life, I guess.
And that's a great segue into my next section or question is, can you share with us this AI automation that you are providing a service to people? When we were in Boston hanging out, Pace asked us to tell our haves and our needs. So you showed us what you have. What are your needs? What can somebody who's watching this episode bring to you to help not only build your business or strengthen your the business that you're doing, but also maybe help them with what they're doing?
Okay, so in terms of like what I need, I would love to network with more people, just to understand where they're at in their journey. I need to do that more. Funny enough, as I mentioned, I need to, in my mind, like the backstory is like I didn't network with as much people. Today I'm
Sure.
networking more and more, but definitely I would love to talk to you know anybody that's going through their business journey, right, and understand like how their journey is going, like what are some of the things that they're encountering in their business that's creating a blockade, because that will also help me understand, okay, what kind of solutions can I offer out there to help more entrepreneurs. um, so the more that I understand that from you as a business owner, as an investor, as an entrepreneur, then it helps me help others more, right, or help them more, right? Because one of the things that it's hard to understand is like how people's businesses operate at some level,
Right.
and unless you're very fresh and getting started, there's a lot of resources out there for that, right?
Right.
Because you can find like things on how to get started, but like once you reach a certain level, you already have certain operations in your business that
Right.
like may require some shifting, right? And it's different for everybody. So as far as like what I need, I am looking to understand some of those situations, because I'm a type of person that like connects the dots on problems and like tries to put solutions that like are scalable.
Nice.
And right now, there's a finite amount of people that you can talk to all at once. So the more that I get to network, so connect with me, that would be fantastic. I would love to hear more about people and
And
their
how would
current
they do that?
situation.
Can you share your like Instagram, Facebook, or email, or
Sure.
what?
Yeah. Yeah. So the best way will be Instagram. Uh, it's Will Castillo is the handle. And you can DM me there. I tend to answer within like 24 hours, 24 to 48 hours. So if you message me there, I'll get back to you, and then we can discuss the time to get together. Even DM me your problem or where you're at, and then we can I can see if I can provide you a resource. I just want to be a resource for a lot of people, not necessarily like I'm here to help as well. I'm a business, but I'm here to help. So if you have a situation, I would love to provide an example of like how you can solve that.
That's awesome. And for the audience, don't worry about it. As always, the links will be in the description for you to reach out to Will and utilize his services and see if he can find a solution for your problems. Will, again, you've been a great guest. You're a great friend, great partner, and look forward to continue doing some business with you in the future. And until next time, fam, see you next time.
Thank you, Jose.